Hi, I'm Claire, and today I'm going to do the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag, which I'm super excited about because I love watching other people do this video, and I did it last year, so I want to keep it going year on year from now on. This book tag was originally created by Ellie and Shami, and I will leave their channels in the description box below. I cannot believe that it is already June. I know many people have said this, but how is it already June, and how is it only just June? Like, this year has been so long and difficult, and oof. Let's actually just jump into the questions and talk about some of the stuff that I've read earlier in the year and some of the stuff that I'm looking forward to reading later this year. First up, we have what is the best book you've read so far in 2020, and for this I have to pick a memory called Empire by R.K.G. Martin. This is an amazing science fiction novel that looks into like so many interesting things to do with memory and knowledge and colonialism, what it's like to come into a different culture from the outside, what it's like to love a culture whilst at the same time knowing that it is very oppressive and there are issues with it. There's so many different cool things in this book, so much about language as well that I really loved. Obviously gave this one a 5-star since I ended up having to pick it as my favourite of the year so far. There were others in contention, but I'm going to talk about them in the rest of this tag. This I absolutely loved. Next, we had the best sequel you've read so far in 2020, and this for me is hands down The True Queen by Zen Cho. This is the sequel to Sorcerer to the Crown. Already loved Sorcerer to the Crown. I thought this one was better than the first one. Really enjoyed the characters in this, the way that we continued to explore the same world, but at the same time it felt a lot wider, and we got to see like loads of new characters and see them from different perspectives as well. Like, it was amazing. Really loved this one. And number 3, we have a new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and oh my goodness, there are so many. The new release I'm the most shocked that I haven't gotten to yet is A Network Effect by Martha Wells, the Murderbot novel. I'm very hyped for this book. Of course, I love Murderbot, but it's just a question of the time. Where is it? And, you know, the brain space, the spoons to do this, to actually, like, immerse yourself in new worlds. It's been so weird this year for me. I've really gone through periods of, like, reading loads in a short period of time, and then, like, long stretches of not being able to read at all, which is, not very nice, and hopefully will end soon so that I can keep making bookish content for you lovely people. In any case, Murderbot, I will get to it probably very soon. Question 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And I find this one very difficult to answer because I love looking up new releases and things that are upcoming. I have this giant shelf on my Goodreads of things that are coming out later in 2020 or that came out earlier in 2020 that I was excited about before publication, because I do these most anticipated releases videos every 3 months. There's so many books, basically. There is a new most anticipated releases video that should be coming out at the beginning of July or just before July starts, so there will be many more books listed in that. But for now, if I have to choose just one, I'm going to go for Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. This is a novella that comes out from Tor.com Publishing in October, and as you can see from this incredible cover art, it is going to be a pretty dark one. They are calling it a dark historical fantasy that gives a supernatural twist to the KKK. We follow a woman named Maurice who runs bootleg whiskey through Prohibition, Georgia, and also has a big magic sword to take down monsters, and of course monsters in the many senses of the term. So that's pretty exciting to me because I love P. Jelly Clark's writing. I love his prose and the stories he chooses to tell, the way he tells them in the time that he has, in the form that he has. I've read some of his short fiction before, some of his short stories and some of his novellas. They were all fantastic. They all felt like so concise, but also really, really satisfying. You don't get to the end and feel like this should have been a novel, give me a novel. Although I do want him to write novels. I hope that he gets to write like all the things that he wants to write forever, because his writing is fantastic, and I just want to put every single thing that he writes in my eyeballs forever. Question 5 is biggest disappointment of the year so far, and I have to say, unfortunately, this one for me has to be Illuminae. It's not the worst book that I read this year by a really, really long shot, but it's one of the biggest disparities between how much I hope to love a book and how much I ended up liking it. And it's not even that I hated it, it's just that I didn't really feel passionate about it, and I was hoping to. The other thing that I thought I should bring up, I haven't reviewed yet, but it's The Last Emperor by John Scalzi, which is the third book in his Interdependency series. And I love that series. I was looking forward to the conclusion of it so much, but this final book just like isn't really as good as the previous two. He's been fairly open online about the fact that the book was a bit rushed and he didn't really have as much time working on it as he wanted to. It feels rushed. I didn't read it and think, oh, the writing is bad, but when I finished it, I kind of felt like, oh, I thought this would be more satisfying to read and to conclude the series. I still thought it was really fun, and I still enjoyed the way that the series wrapped up, but I felt like there was almost a bit too much like telling and not enough showing, especially in terms of like what happens later at the end to all of our characters. The next question is biggest surprise, and for this one I'm gonna go with The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. Not because I didn't think that I would love the book and then I loved the book. Like once I heard about it, I thought, oh, that does sound like a book for me, and I did in fact adore it, but because of how suddenly it came onto my radar. As I was saying, I love to look up new releases and like know what's coming out in SFF, and I guess I'd like heard a little bit about this one and I'd read the synopsis and it sounded cool, but all of a sudden when it came out, all of my friends were reading it and all of my friends were saying how good it is and how fun it is, and I picked it up kind of as a wild card for D&D Picks My Reading. Like I had a free spot where I could choose whatever I wanted, and I zeroed in on that one as a mood read and just adored it. And I think it also fits as a surprising book because it's such a fresh take on epic fantasy, and it does mix in some bits of sci-fi as well. You don't really know what exactly type of world you're in, which I think is great. And also, it was a surprise to me that this book is the first in a series and is going to have some sequels. When I got to the end, I thought, oh, this, might go somewhere else. I hope there will be more books, but I just thought, it's finished, it's satisfying, there doesn't need to be more, necessarily. And then I saw on Goodreads that it has sequels, and I was so excited that there is going to be more. Next up, we have a favorite new author. That could be a debut or a new to you author. And for this, I'm going to go with Ni Vo, who wrote The Empress of Salt and Fortune, because I loved that book. It was such a small novella, but it really packed a punch, and I wanted to reread it like immediately after reading it the first time. There's some great things in there about how we memorialize people and history, how we remember history, the secrets and intrigues around the court and the revolution and things like that. It also looks at how objects tell a story, and there's a very fun framing device around the way the story is told, which worked really well for me. Just the writing of it was so gorgeous. I'm looking forward to the next novella in that same series, which is something something tiger in the name. I should have looked it up, but it now has a cover and is gorgeous now. I'll put it up in there. Can't wait to read more from her. Next up, we have a newest fictional crush. And I do not have an answer for this question because I don't really get like book crushes, fictional crushes. Sometimes I like characters in media, even in books, I suppose, but I tend to be more like shipping characters with each other who I think work well together and like reading fanfic and all of that rather than like necessarily thinking I have a crush on this character. And it's also been quite a while since I fell headfirst into a new fandom, so I don't really have an answer based on that either. Next we have a newest favorite character, and I was tempted to say Muna from The True Queen, the main character from this next book. But on reflection, it has to be every single character from The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. Those characters were bloody amazing, and not like they were all great, like they all had so many flaws, but they felt very real. You could see why other characters would really like love them and be loyal to them. Our main character Kosoe is an absolute badass, but she can also be pretty oblivious about some things, which, you know, makes for some good comedy. She has like a frenemy called Tal, who she's always bickering with. He is also like way over the top and hilarious, but you get to kind of see more of the person underneath all of that as the book goes on. They are competing for the approval of the sorcerer that saves Kosoe at the beginning of the book, who is such a shady wizard, and you know as you're reading the book, as you're starting the story, that just because he rescued the main character when she was 13 years old doesn't mean that he's not incredibly shady. They have a lovely relationship. There's nothing weird or creepy about it. Like, they have a great kind of mentor-mentee relationship, but also he's so shady. Like, he clearly has things that he is wanting to do that are just for his own benefit, and yeah, this is just a great character. Amazing book. I keep talking about how much I love these characters, so I had to go with them. Next question is a book that made you cry, and for this I have to go with The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is not like highly emotional of a book. The reason this book made me cry is that it is about the city of New York becoming embodied in some people, and there is a lot in this book about how it feels to love a city and be a city person and just how great cities are. And I'm a city person and I love London so much, and we've been in lockdown for a while. Staying indoors, not getting to enjoy the glorious city of London. And so even though this book is not at all set in London, it gave me so many London feelings that it actually made me tear up a tiny bit, and I don't usually cry at books, so that was a fun experience. Question 11 is a book that made you happy, and for this I have to say Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which is a romance novel set at a Renaissance fair. There was so much in this book that I enjoyed because it gave me like flashbacks to organizing things, you know, to being a drama kid, to organizing like festivals and volunteering at things like that. I've never even been to a Ren fair because there wasn't like one around when I was growing up, but you know, music festivals and theater festivals and things like that, like it gave me a lot of feelings for those things as well as for conventions. So all of these things together, like the atmosphere of that, like the fact that this whole book is set where people are volunteering to put together this event, that was amazing for me. That's why I picked it up. I thought I would love it and I did. And then it's also a romance novel where not everything about it worked for me, but most of it really did. And I also absolutely inhaled it. I read it in one entire go, started reading it kind of like not too late in the evening, but I definitely thought I would have to put it down before going to bed. Yeah, I went to bed extremely late at night like birds twittering outside late at night. It was bad. It was bad the next day. And the final question is, what is the most beautiful book that you've read this year? And for this, it absolutely has to be one of the books that I've got this year from Illumicrate, which is a bookish subscription box here in the UK. They send amazing special editions of books. I've got a few of them now and they are all gorgeous. My favorite is The Sisters Grimm by Minna van Praag, because it is a naked hardback, which is absolutely always my preference, and it also has this amazing foiling on the front. I am way more into what this book looks like than into the synopsis in the back. It's not necessarily something I would have picked out based on the story alone or the synopsis alone, because it doesn't say like tons about the story, but it does look really, really gorgeous. It has these black sprayed edges, and also it has amazing end pages, as well as, of course, this incredible foiling on the front. Love it. So that's it, this was the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will hopefully see you very soon with more videos. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.